Oh, I'm always the butt of the joke.
Oh, really?
I am.
Always the butt of the jokes. Welcome to Wandering into Wellness.
Welcome back.
Finn, Lydia, back again for episode number
10.
Well done.
Episode 10. We have not shot this a couple of times. Alright, so we were meant to be in some beautiful locations outside today, but the weather had other plans, and it is really, really windy here and also quite rainy. So we are in a beautiful greenhouse with some lovely greenery outside. And it's super exciting because we have a lovely guest with us today, and our guest is Joseph Devlin. Welcome, Joseph.
Hello, thank you very much.
So, Finn.
So, Joseph. Well, I suppose I heard about you.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, we now found out that I met you, but I heard about you from Lydia when she said about what it was a couple of months ago. She's like, "Ooh, there's this guy. Ooh, he's great. He's a really interesting therapist."
Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated by the kind of the dance between physio, osteopathy, craniosacral, all of these things that are like very evolutionary fields. And in Ireland, we have this issue with, I suppose, where physio is very much a medical background thing, but where you guys come from, it's quite a different thing. So can you give us a bit of an idea of like where's your background and what type of training you kind of did?
Sure. Yeah. Interesting question. The training that I did, I started in a very sciencey, very much physical based training.
Okay.
So it was run at the NTC, which is a college just over on the Dorset Street.
Okay. Yeah.
So in the middle of Devlin.
Yeah.
I trained there for a couple of years, and it was very much based around the idea of muscle being tight and tension in the body, and looking at that in a very physical realm. And then I went on to some training with a physiotherapy school over in Scotland.
Okay.
And I was really lucky to get out of that early.
Yeah.
So I left that course early.
You rebel.
And I was even luckier to be brought on as an apprentice with a sports clinic.
Okay.
So I was. Yeah.
And why did you leave? Did you feel like it wasn't for you? Were you seeing things go down a conventional medical route and you were a bit too weird for it, or?
So it was really funny. I did the first 2 years of the course, and coming into the end of the second year, they said, right, we've done 6. I think they did 6 2-hour classes with hands-on.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they said, right, that's all the hands-on done for the whole degree.
What?
And I was kind of like, I thought this was really hands-on. Like I thought physiotherapy was hands-on.
Yeah.
And my understanding of where physiotherapy came from was it was midwives that did massage.
Oh right, really?
That was the original premise of where the modality or the profession came from.
So it wasn't about like sports injury recovery, no.
It was. I think it came from an acknowledgement that there was a hands-on a need for hands-on for work.
Okay.
And that there were professionals, nurses, midwives, who were really trained in physiology, and they were trained in the kind of like the medical model, and they did a lot of hands-on work.
Interesting. During labour itself, or just during pregnancy, or you're not sure about the specifics?
I'm not sure about the detail, because it was 100 years ago. The physio profession has been chartered, as far as I know, for 100 years, and there's been a society for a long time. So the detail of that I'm not sure, but what I was pretty clear on was about the hands-on work.
Okay.
And they worked hands-on. And from what I see or what I gather, that model has now stretched away from that.
Right.
There's been a lot of distance put in between kind of physiotherapy and hands-on work.
Client contact,
Client contact. And now what I really picked up was when I was training, they were a lot about giving exercises, a lot about exercise prescription, a lot about classes, and a lot about intervention, which is great and really useful, and is used in acute medical settings, right the way through to preventative and sports medicine. And so it's kind of physio is kind of a real catch-all term for a lot of things.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah.
And what I found, and I suppose I was lucky in that I had done training initially in hands-on techniques.
Okay, yeah.
And I had been given a really good grounding in working hands-on. So I had, in Australia, or in the construction industry, you call it a ticket.
Okay.
A ticket to go, drive a forklift, or a ticket to chainsaw. You can go and work.
Yeah.
So I was lucky in that I had that ticket. I could go and practice.
Okay, cool.
So I didn't have to stick with physiotherapy.
Okay.
So I chose not to, for a couple of reasons. The lack of hands-on kind of practice in what was I was training in the NHS in Scotland, and also there was for me, there was a lot of reading and a lot of research and a lot of writing about physiotherapy, and not a lot of doing. Not a lot of actually learning how to be with people. There's a lot of academia and a lot of stuff, which is not my learning style. That's not my.
It doesn't necessarily build good practitioners either. I mean, that's one of the reasons we talk about people like bedside manner disappearing in terms of GP practice and that stuff, because they spend 6 years in front of nobody before they're or longer.
And it also encourages, it draws to itself by its nature people who are academic. You know, they are high achievers, they're people who do well in school. People like me who are book people, who love that kind of thing. But then they might not necessarily, often book people don't have that bedside manner, they don't have that skills. And one of the things I found when I came to you first was how instantly comfortable I felt with you, and how comfortable you were at making me feel like I was able to just open up to you, both physically in allowing myself to relax, but also you would say a few different questions that would just, I found myself naturally just telling you stuff about my life, which gave you more information to understanding how was my body working. But if you had someone with a different personality, and I've been to many of those people in my experiences, you instantly get tense, and so then before even body work might hopefully be about to happen, your body's anticipating, I'm a bit uncomfortable, I'm awkward, and you're less likely to open up to that treatment.
Absolutely. You can have the opposite. You can have white coat syndrome, where actually your blood pressure and your symptoms can increase before you see a practitioner. So that they're getting a kind of an enhanced extreme view of what what you're presenting with anyway. I agree with you.
So what would you say if someone was to say, Joseph, what is it that you do? How would you describe yourself?
So I use the term body worker.
Okay.
I like that, even though it's a bit of an ambiguous kind of term.
Even more ambiguous than physiotherapy.
Even more ambiguous than physiotherapy. I like it because it kind of does what it says on the tin. I work with bodies. That's what I do. Technically, I'm a neuromuscular therapist. That's my official title. But very few people outside of Dublin or who have trained in that really know what that is.
Sounds much cooler. I don't know. That's my nerd person's like, oh, neuromuscular, tell me more. So anyway, sorry.
And the title in there is good because it's working between the nerve and the muscle. And that's essentially what I'm doing, is I'm working with the interface between what's happening with the nervous system and the muscular system. And how are those talking together? Some people call me a physical therapist. But again, that goes into a complicated thing around title, and that's being taken away from the profession by another profession. I won't go into that too much unless you're really interested in that.
It's a different fight, but I've heard a little bit about it.
That's a different thing. So the title and what I call myself, different people call me different things.
And you also, when I kind of got introduced to you, it was on the basis of functional movement practitioner in a way. So obviously for me, coming from a yoga background, I was like, okay, I know that there are areas of dysfunction in my practice. I know there's areas where my body just isn't working the way that I would like it to work, and that just comes from working with your body day in and day out and going, well, hang on, I feel like in my situation my glutes aren't kicking in where they need to, my hamstrings are overly tight, what's happening there, and why is it that in my practice, when I'm practicing yoga constantly and I know what I should be doing and I'm trying all those things, I'm not able to rewrite those patterns. So then you look to someone who can look at your body and go, well, actually here I can tell you. And I mean, I've found such a phenomenal difference in the way my body's moving since I've been to see you, and I've only been to see you twice. But huge. I mean, even the way that I'm teaching my classes now, and the way I'm able to explain to people about, because I already was having this thing about peeking out slightly on glute med, and where does it fit into our practice? It's such a common thing that you see just day in and day out in classes. People, we have this thing in Ireland that we call the flat bum syndrome. Like, no one has a bum. Where have they gone? I don't know. And it's largely because so many of us, I think, and you can correct me, sit for huge periods of time, and we tuck our pelvis under, and then the rounding happens, and we're just sitting in this kind of slumpy way. And everyone has this problem in my classes. Sometimes you're doing clam or glute or different glute bridges and stuff, and people are like, I feel nothing in my bum. I literally cannot feel my bum muscle at all. Even yesterday we were doing those figure 8 stretches, you know, where you put your ankle across the top of the knee and bring your knees in, and we'd just done a load of glute work, and one of the girls in the class was like, I cannot feel that stretch in my glute. I mean, I feel nothing in my glute at all. And I was saying, go to Joseph, Joseph's the one. But it's made suade such a difference for me, and that's just in 2 sessions.
Wonderful.
So it seems to me that this is just a chronic issue. I mean, just the bum thing is just what I'm seeing. But it seems to me that there's so many chronic issues in bodies these days.
Sure.
And people like you who really understand that and can give people the tools. Because what you do is, it's less about prescribing the exercises and then go away and do it. It's more about giving you the tools to make those changes in yourself and understand what you're feeling in your body, so that then you can go off and yes, you have those exercises, but when you're moving your body in all the different ways, you can also have that awareness of, oh, I'm kicking back into that patterning, or oh, I'm overusing that area, and you learn your patterns so that you can correct them yourself. So it's a really empowering thing that you do, and that's what's so beautiful about it, I think.
Thank you.
So, quickly, do you reckon, so let's say your profession was, you were at where you're at now in your head and your knowledge of bodywork and your knowledge of fashion, your muscular therapy.
Can I be in my body, not my head?
I wasn't going to ask that actually. I was actually asking slightly different. But can you, like, if you put like this profession at this advanced level 100 years ago before offices and blah blah blah, let's say there was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution where people, there was an evolution from agriculture to industry, and then people suddenly started sitting down maybe 60, 70 years ago. What do you think your practice would look like if it was 60, 70 years ago? Do you think, like, when people weren't sedentary, like, have the problems, are they just founded on that we're currently dealing with?
I think we were still human.
Okay.
And we still have.
No.
We were. I hear where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I think we were still human. We still had stresses. We still had pressure in our lives. And you could argue and say that actually back then, you know, like now we have it pretty good. Like really, like today, like Ireland today compared to Ireland 100 years ago. Yeah. Wow. You know.
It's very first world. We're pretty lucky.
What a difference. Yeah. You know. We're still human. We still have our own inner monologue and our story and our questioning and our belief and our self-doubt. So were we under tension and stress? Yes. The thing that I find interesting when you talk about industrial and then I suppose technological revolution, or maybe what is the Silicon Valley revolution. And Ireland is now very much part of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, absolutely. Feels like we're in it.
Not as warm or dry. You know, the thing is now is we now sit at desks. That stress pattern is now compounded in our bodies because we sit sedentary in our desks.
Okay. So you're saying so
the stress pattern existed, but it wasn't compounded as much because there was still movement.
We move.
Okay.
We move. And in some ways. And I don't want to diverge too much away from what we might be talking about more about the body and healing. But in terms of maybe how we were able to expel the tension and stress out of our body, you know, like maybe there was still more of a kind of a tradition of like a Kaylee.
Okay.
You know? Still more of a tradition of a kind of a natural community kind of sense.
Okay.
And maybe now that we more work in kind of we walk in boxes, literally, like cubicles. Like some people get put into cubicles and kind of given a lot of work to them. Like there's your little kind of like thing.
Stay in your box.
Yeah, literally stay in your box. And kind of like you look at a battery hand, you look at someone who works in a big tech company or a big company who works in a cubicle, and you're kind of like, you're not really that.
It's not a healthy pattern there.
Different. You're not. So that would be the difference I would say is that. Industrial times, there may have been still some movement and expressing the body. Now we sit and we're sedentary. So our metabolism drops by 50% when we sit.
Right.
Oh wow.
Really?
Gosh, that's a lot.
So your respiratory system, your digestive system, your cardiovascular system, everything slows down.
Right.
Yeah.
And your brain is the only thing kind of doing any work.
Yeah.
Well, kind of in a way, yeah.
But it's not being fueled to the same kind of
the same way.
So that's why there's such a move now, and I see this a lot, especially in creative industry. So architecture, graphic design, move towards standing desks, move towards standing upright, and using your workstation with you when you're standing. And that I think is a lot of
walking treadmills, that sort of stuff.
Treadmills. But even just putting your laptop up onto a
having it at a height.
Just having it at a height where you can just look into it and breathe and be able to work with it at a height.
Makes a lot of sense.
So those people, I'm interested to see, because obviously I work a lot in corporate settings and go in and teach yoga classes. So I'm seeing those people in the middle of their day and trying to think about structuring my classes in a way that feeds into what I see in their bodies happening. What do you see when people are coming into you and they've sat at desks for long periods of time? What happens in the body, and can you do to help it, and what
Yeah.
can people do to make changes? What changes
Sure.
can they make in their lives?
Themselves.
Yeah.
Good question.
So free session, please.
I see a lot of what you would call lower cross and upper cross syndrome. Okay, so I look down here because the lower cross syndrome, hip flexors.
Yeah.
Okay, where our muscles would bend our hips. They're always bent. Yeah. So
Yeah.
glutes switch off
Okay.
because they're inhibited. They're not able to work because the muscles at the front of the hips are so switched on.
Okay. Yeah.
Upper cross syndrome, the muscles at the front of our shoulders
Yeah.
are always switched on. We tend to be like this,
Yeah.
or kind of workstation like this, laptop like this, and now it's kind of
Oh,
device.
so myopic.
It's kind of like it almost looks like we're being kind of
Sucked into it.
absorbed
Yeah.
into this kind of little kind of device.
Body shape evolution can be quite strange, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So form affects function affects form.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
Okay.
you use your body in a certain way, that's the way it'll develop. That's the way it'll grow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have those people coming along with those types of symptoms,
Yeah.
how often in their day do they need to intervene in order to repattern? Let's say a standard person without any great trauma going on.
Yeah.
But how often do you think to make that a reasonably healthy thing, where they're still able to do the job and not say, okay, Beckett, I'm off to Hawaii, excuse my language.
Yeah, sure.
What can they do?
So that depends a lot on what they're doing outside.
Yeah.
And what their sport and activity in their daily and their hobbies are outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
How active they are. Yeah.
How active they are, and you know, if their hobbies are they go home and they play computer games. Well, that's a huge amount of the same position. You know, if they commute on the dart or the drive, well, when are they getting out of that position?
Yeah.
Compared to if they love going to, you know,
They cycle to work. And
yeah, they cycle to work, or they walk to work, which would be better.
Okay.
And they love to dance, and they love to be creative, and they love to go, and they love to express themselves, and they love to hang out with their friends, and they love to go swimming, and they love to do, you know, hip openers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a continuum. You know, put something on a continuum of that.
Yeah.
That would be what I would see is what are you doing outside your work?
Yeah.
Within work, my advice would be drink water.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the more you drink water, the more you pee. Yeah, it's a natural tendency.
Okay.
The more you drink, the more you pee. So the more you have to get up from your workstation.
I thought you were going to talk about hydrating fascia or something like that. No, just because you have to get up and pee. Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
Absolutely that too.
Yeah.
But you have to physically break that.
Cool.
You have to get up and you have to go.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
And again, just trying to schedule your work where you can around standing. So if you have to go meet with a colleague and you have to go have a chat and you have to talk about something, go and walk to a cafe. And if they have a standing
bar station.
Coffee table, and I see a lot of, because I get brought in to assess some corporate sites as well, and I see a few of them start to have the stand-up kind of coffee dock things.
Right.
I'm like, that's good. Because when you want to chat about something that's in 15, 20 minutes, stand at that. Don't sit down again, stand.
Yeah.
Cool, nice. So when people are walking to work, one of the things I always wonder about is why. So you know, everything we do as humans is naturally human, right? Whatever we built for ourselves is naturally a human tendency. But weirdly, perversely, we seem to do things that are wrong for ourselves. So like when we create shoes, we seem to create shoes that make us further and further away from things that actually grip the earth. And
the fashion affects form.
Why has that happened, and what do you think about how people how much does it really affect the rest of their body, how much they're in contact with the earth and what their foot's doing?
So the feet thing is an interesting one, and the foot is another whole specialty category.
Once you get into it,
special category, which is amazing. The type of shoes which we might have saw at the start of the Industrial Revolution, where people were starting to wear kind of more pointed shoes. So instead of the foot being splayed and being wide, we were starting to narrow it down into a fashionable kind of like pointy. I think is it periwinkle?
Periwinkle.
Our foot naturally splays out, and that's how we sense the ground beneath us. Our toes, our balance tools, but also the sensory items, or sensory tools, for giving us feedback as to where we are and where our foot is. If we start to bind those up, and then just not let them do their job, the rest of the body. So awareness is an interesting word for me. where are you? Where is your body?
Okay,
To have all that bound up and all that sensory input being really, really, really small, you're really not getting that sensory input. So the rest of your body isn't able to correct and have a balance.
Okay.
Because you're kind of essentially walking around on two kind of hoofs.
Yeah.
Big flat pads where you've got these 10 wonderful devices which are helping you pick up, where am I, where is my balance?
And why do you think, for some reason, little toes, nearly always, everybody seems, they're just kind of useless these days. Are we getting rid of them like we got rid of wisdom teeth? Are we evolving past our little toe? What's happening?
Potentially, I tend to always break mine off. Or as in, but break them.
Like, ow, Jesus, really?
It's the only part of my body I've ever broken. And weirdly, once I had my son after I was pregnant, my proprioception was so different not being pregnant that something happened. And every time I walked through a doorway, I would smash my little toe off the doorway. Every single time. Just my perception of how wide I was or where I was in space was just wrong. Just completely wrong. And it took like months, like 6 months for me to get that back again.
So I got really interested in foot strength. There's a guy who runs Mark Curzon Strength of Sport. Do you come across him? Anyway, he's an interesting guy, trains a lot of MMA guys in the States, and he basically stops everybody lifting weights. Like he has like guys who are like big, like NBA footballers, NFL footballers, MMA whatever fighters, and he takes them all away from weights, gets them doing isometric movements, and gets them just literally looking at foot strength. That's all they do. All the time. It's like using the foot like a claw. And it's amazing when you see his fight and you see the evolution. You can see somebody who's quite different from one fight to the next. There's a guy called Rafael dos Anjos. And it was amazing to see because he was sort of a guy who was sort of middle of the road, very like a good striker, but nothing particularly outstanding. And suddenly went to Mark Curzon and 6 weeks, 8 weeks of a fight camp. And suddenly his movement was just like so evolved. And suddenly he was like where people were punching, and usually they're like, if you're not a good striker, your movements are too big, so it uses too much effort to do weight. And what movements were micro movements. He was like a different person, all from focus on foot strength and proprioception, I guess.
Proprioception, exactly. Feeding into where are you.
Even just groundedness, though, right? Even like getting in touch with the earth, and without even getting into like grounding yourselves in terms of all of that kind of stuff, but just like there is the earth, and using the earth, because in yoga we find a lot of people, we talk about like propping away from the earth, so pulling yourself up away from it. So when you lie down on the ground, for example, when you're relaxing, you may be lying on the ground, but you're kind of lying on the ground with tension of not letting yourself release. But when you start thinking of that relationship between the ground and the foot almost being like wet sand, and your foot sinking into there, and there being this push and pull, then you have that ability to balance, and that just ricochets up through the whole of the body. There's a really interesting physical therapist called Laura Hyman. Do you know her stuff? You should check her out, you'd love her. But she was talking about you should look at your foot, and your foot should be massively muscular when you look at it. And she said, when I see feet these days, they're just these kind of soft, puffy, just dead skin, and they should be these really muscular things because they should be gripping.
Something which we see quite a bit sometimes when we look at people's walk is that their kind of foot is kind of like
just slapping down.
It's kind of like a flipper, and it's kind of not. And you can look at the foot and you can see how active it is, and you can see, especially going into like tree pose or one-legged standing, you can have a look and see how is the foot working, or is it just kind of like
it's just the ankle, like
is it a piece of block of wood? And is it just kind of sitting there inactive? And getting people to activate and work with that, certainly, Sometimes you can hear it in people. Are their foot slap up?
Absolutely, I certainly used to be on my right leg.
I want to ask a question about touch. I think a really sad thing, and it's also necessary these days, is that touch has become this slight pariah type thing of, in school, for example, my son's in school, first week in school, he's a real hugger, and we then got the feedback of like, he's really physical, and in our family we're like that, we're always hugging and we're very tactile, and I'm super tactile, so he's got that from me, but he was hugging all these kids, and his school was come back to me saying like he's not allowed to hug, like he can't hug kids in school, and I was kind of heartbroken. I was like, what? The teachers can't hug the kids when they're crying. The kids can't hug the other kids when they like them. And then there's all this of, in yoga, then it's like, should you adjust people? Should you be touching them? Is it okay to touch? What's your intention behind touch? And then when we come to your therapy is very physical. I mean, you are touching the entire time.
I would really struggle to do my job.
You really would.
Exactly.
But the beauty of it is the letting yourself be in your hands, like to trust. I am in your hands, and there's a healing quality of just going, I give my body over to you and I trust. And I just find, like, what is it, do we as a society need really to just get a lot more comfortable with touch? Where's the boundaries of those things? I mean, I think there's a massive healing quality in touch, and if we could touch more, it would be better. But instead of us going towards touching more, we're all just going away from touching.
We're terrified of consequences of it, because there's so many different versions of them. And one of my favourite phrases at the moment is, like, the essence of tyranny is the conscious removal of nuance. And it's like, because we don't know how to have the conversation in such a way as to be non-judgmental about it. So we can't really give ourselves an open forum about it. It's kind of like it's on or it's off, and that's all we can do. That's a massive shame.
What I see a lot, and it's interesting you talk about MMA fighters. I see a lot of what might be perceived as touch as being in two kind of categories. And one of them being in violent touch or competitive touch. So rugby players, MMA fighters, you're competing through touch, and your idea is to best your opponent. So it's a physical, almost warrior-like
dominance thing.
Dominance. I'm going to dominate you because you're going to dominate me, and touch works on that level. So perhaps males are raised to where touch. That's what touch is. And then on the other hand, you have more kind of intimate touch, which is generally around sex. And that being you've got to be really careful around that, because are you where is that
appropriate,
inappropriate, and kind of what and where and how is that seen and how is that experienced, and there's the whole thing about consent. And so it seems as though kind of touch is kind of like, and so you're liable and you're in danger of being charged with assault or with sexual assault. So it seems
the spectrum between that is the part where we're not willing to
but we can't hug in the middle, and one is one extreme, the other is the other extreme, but where is the bit in the middle? Which is, and I read this article recently, which is kind of like people are scared to say in the workplace, they're afraid to touch their colleagues because #me too, or that guy, he's a bit dodgy, he was trying to chat me up, so
interpretation of touch.
Exactly, so we can't now, now, and again, there's kind of like, there's like Donald Trump, who's on a kind of whole other. Sorry, I've been landing.
Of course, absolutely.
Sorry, but so
it'd be interesting. We'll make the headlines.
But there are institutions. A few years ago, the BBC was in the media a lot around that institution, around how that was, and that was kind of more like. That was groping, which is kind of like but like it's not kind of, will you do me a favour and would you come and
help me with this thing.
Help me with this thing, so it really appears that people are afraid to be involved in touch and don't know where that exists or where that safe limit is.
It's fascinating.
And especially when we're talking about devices. People are used to communicate with devices and sending an emoji as to actually having eye contact.
That's their version of physical contact.
And because we're not then training in it. Like when you're growing up, you're not learning. You're learning those subtle things like, is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. Is that okay? Bit too far, and you learn that from just reading the body language of the person, right?
But we're not doing that now. We're not doing that because more and more is what is the text message? What is the text that I'm getting back, and how do I read into that? Or looking at an emoji, which is not even the person's face, and even communicating through. And ironic, I know, because people are looking at us with a digital device.
This is a cerebral experience as well. Sorry, we can't reach out.
So there's amazingness in that, which you can see people through this device and through this media. And people can read body language and do that. But there's also is a human cost to that. Where and getting back to your original question, are we different 100 years ago to now? And the physiotherapy model or the medical model I see in the UK is a lot about community care, a lot about releasing people back into the community, or sort of discharging, releasing is a sorry.
It's kind of the same thing though. Unfortunately, let's not get into that. It's a whole other bit. But
you're releasing people back into the care of the community because that's more cost effective. But what community is there to care for them?
Yeah.
Who is there to look after them?
Huge problem.
And we have now, and this was the big learning in the degree that I did.
Okay.
Was actually from the social department, social care department, social work, and they were talking about the changing nature of health and wellness in our society.
Okay.
We're living longer. More of us are living with disability. We are tending to live more lonely lives, less getting married, more not having children, and we are in families that are spread across the world. And so that idea of community, and what is our local community, and how is that looking? Exactly. Where, like, what is that?
And it's weird because there's such buzzwords. Like you see them in marketing terms. Community and connection are like what everybody uses. Those are the big like Google whatever things.
Everyone knows that they're important. Everyone's moving towards them, but no one actually does the thing. And even if you were living in those old family groups where you'd have your grandmother or your grandfather living with you, they'd necessitate touch because the older people would need massages. They would be there having the touch. They would be touching the young kids, looking after them. There would just be a lot more of that kind of holistic community feel and of seeing how do bodies move and how do they work at different ages, what are our needs in different ages, and now it's polarized.
And seeing people in the different generations.
Yeah, exactly.
Grandparents would have a real strong connection with their grandchildren and vice versa because they were around. It wasn't like one was in daycare and one was in daycare. One was being looked after by professionals and one was being looked after by professionals. So that whole piece of wellness and kind of how we look and how we
put our values really.
How we value how we value the people
with our actions.
And then you tie that up with the expectations of society and community and where that is. And some people just plain don't like to be touched. Some people like.
So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that as a therapist? When people are coming to you know they're going to be touched.
True.
But you must have people who stiffen in response to your content. How do you?
Being dead honest. Now I don't get a lot of people coming through my practice who don't like to be touched. Because generally my referrals come through word of mouth. So someone will tell someone you should go to this guy because he's great and he'll work with you. And exactly, and their bodies are open to being touched. For some people who I would say who are kind of on the edge and they're wondering how that's going to be. They haven't had a session before, and people who have had trauma in their lives. They've been the victims of or they've experienced. Violence. However that might be.
Good recharacterization there, well done.
They're not victims, they've experienced that. That's in their mindset. Going and saying that to their therapist and saying this is me, this is how I am, and finding a therapist that they feel appropriate, they feel comfortable with. Choosing someone which they feel they can.
They're giving the level of whatever contact or not that they are ready to experience.
Absolutely. This is why I enjoy teaching a class, because people can get a bit of a sneak peek at me before kind of being one-on-one in the room alone with me. Which for a female, I'd imagine that can be really triggering. You haven't read someone's energy. So I would say the piece of therapist I would say is put yourself out there.
That's a good idea.
So people can experience your energy and they can
they'll gravitate towards or away if they want or whatever.
Exactly.
And would you say, do you find a lot that when people are holding massive tension patterns in their body, that it can have emotional, that it originates from emotional stuff?
It can originate, or it can certainly be fueled by, or it can be part of that maybe fight and flight mechanism. So there's a trigger and there's a response. There's a trigger and a response. And that can be, you can say that could be involved in a lot of stimulus. Say for example, people with a caffeine addiction, they want the caffeine because they have a detoxing from caffeine. So they want that to kick them into stimulus so I can get to work, and then that buzz is starting to fade off. So they want the next shot of caffeine so they can get through till 9 o'clock. The fight and flight response kind of works the same, and within people's trauma within their body, they can be really, really busy-minded. So that anxiety and depression, so that's a lot of what I see, that pattern of people being anxious and their body's working really, 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 really hard, and their adrenal system's getting really fatigued, and then they're going into depressive states. So the body's just getting tired. And when you break down depression, you put a line in between that and you've got deep rest. Your body is actually going, I need a rest here, I need to switch off. So the therapy work which I've found useful for me, and also people find useful, is actually bringing someone from that state into a place of you can be restful now before you've burnt out. And that's again where self-care practices, and that's where allowing people to touch into a little bit of how that feels, but then bringing them into something, getting them to go to something like yin yoga or restorative yoga, something which is really, really relaxing, really calming. That's the empowering that when they can take themselves into that, and they go, this is how I feel. This is how I can help myself. Rather than what I see a lot in the industry is power yoga, Ashtanga, hatha yoga,
vinyasa flow.
I want to go and do. I want to go and do things. I want to go and do it in 45 minutes. I get back to my desk and do another thing. Do. And it's kind of like at the end of the day, it's kind of like, right, I've got to do something. You know,
it has been achieved.
So I can switch off. Then so I've got to have.
I think there's this mindset of like we have to earn rest. And so we have to do something first, and then we're allowed to rest, rather than just going, I deserve to rest. One of the things my body needs is we need food that's nourishing, we need to breathe properly, we need to drink properly, we need to move our bodies, and we need rest. And we never deny ourselves, well, some people do, but in general we need to eat our lunch, we know we need to sit down, and that just has to happen. But then there's rest, and we go, but I've got to do a lot, I haven't done enough, I just got to do some more, and then I can allow myself this rest, rather than going, you know what I really need right now is 20 minutes rest. And that's just what I need to be more productive, to be more calm, to be more creative.
To be more.
To just be more. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you.
But I suppose in terms of like if somebody's going to develop body awareness, what I love about the evolution of yoga and the fact that maybe it's gone a certain direction, it's suiting that dynamic, very kind of male energy, I suppose, of the Western world, which is the cut and thrust thing that we've all built for ourselves, is that at least it's getting people into their bodies, because they're so active, their bodies can do so many things at the one time that they can't, this thing does switch off. And maybe it does wear them out, probably it does wear them out if they keep doing that all the time, but at least at some level they're going to have some sort of recovery and some awakening within their body, like this is what happens when my diaphragm moves, this is what, all those sorts of things, like this is how my hips actually feel, and whatever.
The great thing about that is that connection to breath. And hopefully yoga teachers are pushing that connection to breath. And okay, you're fatigued, but how is your breath? And have you stuck with your breath during your practice? That can be really, really beneficial, especially when you're looking at things like anxiety.
Absolutely.
Because are you letting your breath get away from you? And actually, can you take that back? Can you bring that back and be in your body, be in your breath? And can you be there? And in terms of the little piece that I try and add in with people, because when I'm working with someone's trigger point, so the most painful point essentially that I can find, and this is kind of what I'm working with in the body, is if they can be in their breath with that, and if they can work with that breath, then they can release that.
Absolutely.
They can let that dissolve.
And that's really right. So when I went to see Joseph the first time, one of the things that I've been suffering with since I was pregnant with my son is that I just have this pain, this sensation of, maybe not pain, but kind of pressure that's kind of here in my sternum, and it was holding me back in my yoga practice because I had this anxiety around it of, if I do this, am I making it worse? When the pain or pressure gets worse, am I damaging it? Is it just a sensation of moving through it? And so then subconsciously I started to just tense everything around it and protect it, because I was like, I better not touch it, better not do this, and I started to make my yoga practice shrink for everything that I was frightened of. And then when I came to see Joseph, firstly he gave me some fascinating insights about the emotional side of that. How could it be, were there emotions that were affecting that as well? Which, what I wanted to say about what we were last talking about is, you gave me the insight to then find out in myself where was this coming from emotionally? But I made that leap myself. You didn't tell me. You didn't say, I think this is blah. You went like, and could this be this? Or what's happening in this area of your life? And then once I came to that realization myself, there was this moment of, I actually went, I remember it. I remember breathing out really deeply and going, oh, okay, right. Oh wait, I've made that connection. And once you've given people the tools to make the connection in their life in relation to anxiety, they can go, okay, this is my trigger, this is the things that are triggering me, and this is where I can start to make those changes. But to get back to the physical aspect of it, then you were doing massage on this area and you're using those, and it was sore. I want to say I have like a fairly good pain threshold, and it was up there. But when you got me to breathe into it and bring my breath back to it, you gave me the realization of, this is actually okay. This sensation is a sensation, and it can be strong, but it's not damaging, it's not dangerous, it's not scary. And that gave me the power to then go, okay, I'll try out, I'll do this position, and okay, there's a sensation, but is it a bad sensation, or is it just a sensation that's coming up? And it's freed it massively. And now anytime I feel like it's exacerbating itself, I have the power to go in, do the massage myself, and notice, am I massaging in a place of like, oh, I'm pulling my whole body away from that place to try and protect it, or am I actually moving towards it, moving into that sensation and softening into it?
Lovely, lovely. And the question I would have for you is, did I give that to you, or did you give that to yourself?
You allowed me to give that to myself. And that's the empowerment.
Yes or no question, Lydia?
Thank you, Finn.
Sorry.
No, but that's the truth.
Good lawyer.
I have a 3-year-old. I have to do a lot of this kind of negotiating scenarios. But that is the tool. I mean, what I always think of it when I'm working with people is like, you give them, you know how builders wear those, or not just builders, but people wear those belts with the, and it's like you give them the invisible tool belt filled with a load of different tools for their specific needs. And so, okay, you need to build a wall, right, you might need a hammer. But for us it's like, oh, anxiety is happening, what are the tools that I can bring out of my toolkit that work for me? And you enabled me to build that for myself.
Thank you. And that's stuff which I wasn't being taught in university.
Absolutely.
So to go back to your original question around why did I leave, that stuff which I don't believe that little part around emotional intelligence, that you can really teach that in a degree, in a primary degree. That's a little bit like School of Life.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you probably have that in you to a degree as well. I mean, not everybody has that capacity to draw that emotional whatever building or evolution out of people. I think that's about finding the right place to be, and so you're clearly
in the right job.
You're in the right track.
I've recently come back to realising that.
Okay.
And also that took part of me also going away from that work.
Oh, really? Okay.
And really taking a kind of like a real time away from it and a sidestep into something different completely.
Okay.
And taking some time off and time away and then coming back to it.
Okay. Recognising this is actually my gig.
And recognising this is actually my gig, and that's actually the part within the web that actually is my place and time right now.
Okay.
And going through my own healing journey.
Yeah.
And that is something which you can't necessarily get in 4 years.
No.
If you do a certain number of modules.
There's no university that's going to teach about your healing journey that are anyways accredited with unfortunately. No. That is the living, isn't it? Yeah.
Living. And I think doing stuff outside of your physical modality and then taking that back in and really at the end of the day, it's how you're holding space for someone. And that word is cliched, used a lot nowadays, and it's a little bit kind of ambiguous. Yeah. But
we all know it though. When we meet it, we know it. So you can't. Why do we have to always? It really annoys me. Why do we have to just put the terms and the box on everything? It's just there is. When you go to a yoga class and that teacher's holding space for you, you feel it. When you go to a meditation, you feel it. I knew immediately on meeting you when I came into the room. I just felt. I mean, it didn't feel like we were two strangers. It just was like, oh, there's Joseph. Do you know? And it just felt so comfortable, and I felt completely comfortable to talk to you about emotional things that were hard for me, that were hidden, that had been hidden, and it just felt comfortable, and that's because you were holding that space. And everyone relates to that. Everyone knows it, everyone's experienced it. But once we start going like, well, what does holding space mean? Can you just give me specifics on it? It starts becoming this like ridiculous sounding airy-fairy rubbish.
Absolutely.
But we all know it, and why do we need to?
Absolutely.
Why do we need to give it a definition?
To bring it back to the neuromuscular thing a little bit, one of the things that's really exciting me at the moment, I've been to see a few practitioners recently who kind of got me towards like looking at fascia a lot, and I'm sure you've seen Scrolling Under the Skin, which is just mind-blowing. And if anyone hasn't seen that, look it up on YouTube. Just to give you an idea of the patterning of fascia. And one of the ones I was talking to Lydia about the other day was how your Achilles tendon is obviously moving inside a shaft, and how like as the Achilles tendon moves inside that kind of sheath shaft.
You can make that.
I can do it. It's an Achilles tendon. It's fine. But as it moves, the fascia has these little tubules that are like attaching and detaching and reconnecting, like a caterpillar or something, like in real time. And no matter how fast the tendon is moving, it's phenomenal to know how much like micro movement in our body is going on. I was with a guy the other day who was saying about like he was doing a guided meditation thing with me. He was saying like, you know, when the hairs on your head get cold, like you can feel every single one. They all have their own little nervous system. It's amazing how much is happening in the body that we can be anyways aware of. No wonder we sort of separate ourselves from it.
Absolutely. The amount of data coming in to what is essentially a processing unit. It's kind of like so much. And then the amount of data coming in through our big optic nerve. And that's why I suppose devices are getting back to that. And the amount of that input, when you can separate that off and you can go, oh, what's actually happening in my body? Like what's actually happening here? Because this is going straight, that's direct line, kind of like M1. Port tunnel, straight through into here. Straight to the
it's going to override kind of everything else when it's on.
And also your oral nerves as well. If you can sync away from them. And if you can sync away from also, I have to concentrate on also the data coming out. So that's why practices like Vipassana and these kind of things. If you can sync back into actually what's happening in the vast majority of the me, which is not here.
Just there, that tiny bit that we focus on. And so how many, so when you're making change within a body, how many things can you realistically work on at one time? Do you have a very keen sense, or you develop that, three? That's simple. Alright, there you go, there's the answer. Really? Always?
Don't work on any more than three kind of big bits in one time, because you want to kind of give enough that the dish isn't going to be so overpowered with different flavors. Now cheese, tomato.
Funny, it's weird. There's a magic rule in nutrition as well. I remember, like, it was one of those my mum taught me. Is like, you know, give a herb that's specific to the condition, give a nutrient that's definitely involved, and then something as a background. Maybe it's a probiotic, maybe it's some other kind of thing. Maybe it's just a clay or something that helps the digestive process. Magic threes is weird.
There's so many things in threes.
Amazing.
It's a little bit, I think, so you don't overcook the body or give it so much. It's kind of like struggling to figure out how to integrate that.
There's so much to do. It's so much new patterning, isn't it? And so do you when you see people come back, like, well, I know you don't get people back again and again and again, which is why one of the things makes you a great practitioner, that you're looking to help people get on their path, get on their way.
I'm looking to not get them back in the same frequency. It's a little bit depending on how acute the condition is. You might have to get them back quickly because they're in an acute healing phase. My idea would be to lessen that frequency. So they might be coming back to you in a week, and then a fortnight, and then a month, and then however long they need to maintain, or hopefully get them to do their own maintenance.
And are you ever surprised, or are you constantly surprised, I don't know, by people like coming back and you're kind of like, oh, I thought this was kind of working out, this seemed to be grand, or vice versa, where you're like, Jesus, I barely did anything, and it's kind of fixed itself. Do you get those surprises a lot?
And as my practice has evolved, I'm doing way less. And I'm finding that is easy for people to integrate. Previously, when I used to work, and I still say it now, I say, don't be surprised if tomorrow you're really sore. Because of what I've done and because of shifts that may happen.
She almost swore about you the day after you.
And I'm not surprised about that. I
was like, I had a homework.
Congratulations that. Oh, that pain. Interesting. So you do less and you get more out of it.
I try and do less.
And to know how to go where first, like that instinct must be incredible to develop.
Exactly. And so I try and. And some people you need to kind of gently, kind of integrate or gauge where they're at around how open they are or not.
Okay.
And it's great working with clients who are really kind of like, I want to get straight into this and I'm really, really comfortable and I'm really cool with this. And that's great. What I find with working at yoga practices and with yoga students especially is they're on a journey of they're seeking. They want to progress. They want to get into this. So I find yoga people are just they're kind of like butter.
Okay,
they're really really nice. People who are a bit more stuck in their ways and a bit more kind of resistant.
Yeah.
They don't tend to get as much.
But you got a lot of a challenge, though, Joseph, no?
Yeah. For me, there's also an energy exchange with people.
Okay, yeah, fair point. Okay.
People coming back over and over again with the same stuff.
Yes.
It gets a little bit kind of like.
You need to be helping yourself here a bit. I'm not doing the work.
Right now, are you engaging with this? And are you making the changes?
Yeah.
Because actually, it's a bit like if it's a you fix me thing, then it's a bit like
there's no responsibility being taken.
And accountability to the
and that's been the big energetic shift for me. I used to work in Aberdeen. It was a centre where there was. I was lucky. I was there during the recession. Touch wood. It was amazing.
Right.
It was the oil industry was what was keeping the whole economy going.
Really? In Aberdeen? Okay.
Yeah. So, in my judgment, people were disconnected a little bit with the earth about where they were valuing the earth and where the earth's part was in this.
I don't feel like Aberdeenshire people are going to be kind of salt of the earth types. Kind of. Am I right or wrong? Is that a
people? A lot of people were there, and I judge this. If any of my previous clients, kind of see this, I'm not speaking about you directly as people. And sorry to take us off into a tangent and to wave my little kind of like eco-greeny flag around this, but when you're taking from the earth, you're taking oil from the earth, you're taking the earth's blood, and what has been the blood of the earth's ancestors, taking without permission to use frivolously.
Interesting.
Then that mindset of how you then interact and engage with people or resources. People would come in and say, I got 55 minutes, you fix me.
Wow.
Kind of like it's and what I noticed again and again with people and so the stress in that environment is kind of like whatever we experience, like forget about it. Imagine you're in a $2.5 million pounds a day budget for your project. So if your project goes over by one day, that's £2.5 million for your company. And you're talking about projects which are going on for decades.
Wow.
So that was really interesting insight for me. Coming from a land of New Zealand, we're pretty clean and green. We're an island nation. The resources we have on the island is what we have. So to make that relationship of the disconnect that I see in people's bodies, it's also with our relationship with the earth. Wow. What are we taking? What are we using? How are we in this world? And how essentially how are we spending our money? How are we banking our money? What are we doing with that?
That's our bet for the future, isn't it?
Every time you spend $1 or €1 or a peso, that's really you voting. That's you voting really what paradigm you buy into. Do you want Facebook to have your money? Do you want Apple to have your money? Do you want Google to have your money? Sorry if I'm naming names.
No, this is, but I think it's valid.
Do you want a local shop to have your money? Who's going to spend your money locally? And I'm going to spend your money locally.
Absolutely, and the reality, that's one of the reasons I'm so happy in what I do, because I'm quite comfortable with knowing where basically the purchasing decisions that I make every day, I make them such that our customers can make healthier purchasing decisions as well. So you're sort of editing choice, but in a healthy way, as opposed to just providing everything without, is this bachelor looking on cool? Let's put more goji berries in the shelf. They're going like, okay, well he's producing these.
Exactly, where they're coming from. And actually, does Ireland have a huge excess of blackberries? They do. So why are blackberries not cool?
Exactly. And that
So
feeds back to your community idea, though, isn't it? It's like, what are you surrounding yourself with? What is the community that you're living with? And what does community mean? Like within your body, the communities in your body, the communities of your friends, the communities that you live in, the community that you're communing with in nature.
Absolutely. And this is really where I see. It's interesting, you see fascia, and fascia is really a web, a spider's web. And really as a community we're in a web. And anything that one person in the community does affects the rest of the web. And this is where I I feel really lucky to now know that my place in the web is working with people.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it took me going off that path to really look back and really realise that. Because at a part in my life not so long ago, I was like, I'm done with this. I'm going to go live in a warm country and I'm going to build mud huts.
Okay.
And that's going to be my kind of like life journey. I'm like, I'm done with people. Like, people suck, you know?
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I'm off. And it took me to do that to really to have that perspective and to go back and go, actually, my place right now is to work with people so they can work with their bodies and hopefully they can work with other people's bodies.
Yeah.
And so it's really great to hear you talking about your yoga practice, you're changing a little bit on the little drops that I'm putting into that, because I believe there's a little bit of a separation. There are many separations in the world, but separation between some of that physical science and stuff and yoga practice, because there's a shunning of both.
Exactly.
Don't want to look at anything the either is doing because they're different and they're not the same.
One's evidence-based, one's woo-woo, and then
and then polarize them.
And there's so much that the two could
just work together and facilitate.
So much. There's so much.
Well, they're beginning to see it in functional medicine, like lifestyle medicine prescription is what they're now focusing on with GPs in the UK. Trying to reduce antibiotic prescription also. I mean, that's amazing. That puts a hair to the back of my neck. To think that there's even a thought of that like level of integrated practice is there. I mean, they're never going to be best friends. That's fine because there's certain tie-ins there maybe that they can't allow them. But if there's even like the hint of like allowing people to help themselves and fix themselves and giving them autonomy, bodily autonomy and stuff, I think that's
empowerment and also changing a culture. You know, you hear a lot of stuff on the radio, like adverts talk about, you know, like people talking about exercise or walking, and they're kind of like, oh, why would I ever want to do that? You know, why would I want to be active? So that culture is there in our bodies. Oh, I want a nice sedentary job. You know, where I'm really safe and I'm kept indoors. And I'm
comfort zone.
I'm comfort. I'm kind of like all, you know, cushy. It's kind of like it's like the apple cider vinegar thing. You know? Apple cider vinegar is so good for you. But you've got to get the vinegar in. You've got to go through that
astringent bit.
A little bit of discomfort to get there. The same with the therapy, the body work. Well, the same with going to your first yoga class after ages.
And you're like, oh, down, and they go, rest in downward dog now, and you're like, what?
Quivering elbows.
Okay, so Joseph, I think we've covered a lot today, and I feel like we could do a whole nother podcast just on fascia maybe in the future, which would be interesting because so much to talk about there. But thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
And if people want to find you, if people have been listening and they're going, Joseph, he's the man for me, which incidentally, go to him. I can speak from experience, and I'd be recommending him to everyone. How can they find you?
The website, which is joseph-devlin.com.
And dash is the one in the middle or the slash one?
The middle one.
The middle one.
Yeah.
You need to clarify it.
Thank you. And that will give details about how to get in touch. Best to email or to text. Text is really good.
And your presence on Instagram as well?
A little bit, Joseph, I think it's Joseph_Devlin.
Oh, that's what it is.
Just to be really confusing.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming in, man. That's been an absolute treat.
Really.
And just to finish up, so every podcast we give away a little treat bag. Do you want to go for a little treat bag? Which is full of goodies from the hot sack. It's a lovely new branded barrel bag. Look at that! Wow. And the mic is, or the camera's so excited, it wants to see it. There we go.
What's in there?
What have we got in there? We've got some clean lean protein from Newslex, which is like full of matcha. We've got some.
Oh, is that my favourite one?
It's the matcha one, that is your favorite. No, you like.
Oh, I like the turmeric.
Innate, like amazing gluten-free, raw, vegan snack things that are yummy. They're just with yeast flakes, which is such a cheat, but anyway, they're delicious. Mindful bites. I think that's your favorite thing in the world.
That is my favorite thing in the world. I'm feeling it.
Are they chips?
They are chips. Are you a chip fan? Go for it. Lentil chips, all sorts of fun stuff.
We will.
A new paradigm for Joseph.
Oh, Joseph's learning so much stuff with us.
So we're going to have our nibbles and let you guys go.
Thank you so much. Please, if you enjoyed this podcast, like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or any questions for Joseph or either of us, please comment below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.